Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now this Ethereum chart is actually showing us a warning signal for the price action that is potentially about to play out. I'll be talking more on this later in the video and some other important levels of support that we need to be paying attention to, and some Ethereum patterns that are very close to completing or have already broken. So make sure you watch this entire video so that you're not missing out on any of this important information. And just before we jump into it, if you could take a couple seconds out of your day to click the like button down below, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more update videos just like this every single day. But with all of that out of the way, let's get straight to what this video is about. So right here, we're on the Ethereum to USDT chart on the 4-hour time frame, and this is that same head and shoulders pattern that I've been talking about for the last 2 days now. And since when I first mentioned this pattern, we have broken the neckline to the downside, come back up, seen a retest and a successful rejection from that level, confirming the neckline as resistance, which is technically a bearish signal in the immediate short term. This neckline is right now coming in at approximately 3,850, give or take. So really, in order for Ethereum to flip bullish again in the immediate short term, we need to reclaim that level, because while Ethereum is holding below that neckline, technically speaking, this is a valid pattern that is playing out. And the technical price target for this head and shoulders pattern, now that we have broken to the downside, is coming in at around 3.3k. But keep in mind, even though that's the technical price target for this pattern, that does not guarantee that we'll go to those prices, because nothing in these markets is guaranteed. And when you're zooming out a little bit further on the 4-hour time frame, what we have here is this head and shoulders pattern that I've been talking about for almost a week now on the channel. And at the time of filming this video, we are on the cusp of breaking this neckline, but we haven't really seen any confirmation of the break of this pattern just yet. 3 confirmation methods that I use to confirm a break of a significance line are, first of all, the volume. We need to see a spike or surge in volume as we're breaking a significance line. Also, if we see multiple candle closes below a line of support, for example, that is how you know the price is breaking that line of support. But when it comes to using candle closes as confirmation, the larger the time frames, the more significant the candle closes are. So I would certainly not be using a 1-minute candle close to confirm a break of a level. And the third confirmation method that we can use is, of course, a retest of that line to flip it into resistance. That can act as confirmation, as we just experienced with this head and shoulders pattern that I've been warning you about for 2 days now. Now zooming out to the daily time frame for Ethereum and bringing out the VPVR indicator, the next major cluster of volume to the downside starts at just above 3.5k, more specifically at around 3,550. And for the beginners out there, that just basically means we've got major support in this price range right here, where we have that major cluster of volume starting at 3,500, but it actually goes all the way down towards around 3.1k, close to 3,000. So the price target for this head and shoulders pattern basically comes straight into this major cluster of volume, which is right where we would be expecting support anyway for Ethereum according to this indicator. And on top of that, bringing out the Fibonacci retracement tool from the September low up to the all-time high, what we have is the golden pocket, the most important Fibonacci level, coming in at around $3,500 US. So if we are to continue with this next move to the downside, then once again at around $3,500 US, we have some major support at around that level. Now staying on the daily time frame for Ethereum, but taking a look at this specific chart. Now what I've got here isn't exactly a normal price pattern. I'm simply just pointing out all of the similarities between this correction and the correction that we experienced back in May and June. The first similarity is looking in the initial crash to the downside, in the main part of the crash, where we were essentially going vertical to the downside and formed some major wicks to the downside. And we did exactly that around a week and a half ago, with that flash crash from above 4,000 all the way down towards around 3,500, and on some exchanges even lower than that. And then of course on that day we formed a major wick to the downside, showing us that there's a lot of buyers down below the 120-day simple moving average, which is this green moving average right here. So we saw that back in May, and we saw that around 1.5 weeks ago. And then looking back in the May price action leading into the June price action, after that flash crash to the downside, we held above the 120-day SMA for a decent amount of time in a sideways consolidation, but we had declining highs. We were forming lower highs in the price action, which is technically a bearish signal, showing us that the selling pressure was increasing. And that is what we've been seeing recently over the past 1 to 2 weeks. And then looking back in the daily RSI for Ethereum back during May and June, we essentially formed a giant W pattern in the daily RSI, and we are seeing the exact same thing play out in the daily RSI. Also looking in the MACD, of course, we were trending to the downside in the main part of this crash, and then we saw a very small bullish cross in the daily MACD, but only for a short amount of time in the middle of this pullback. And that's what we saw around 1.5 weeks ago, just a very small bullish cross that only lasted for a couple days before we flipped back into the red. Fed. So as I mentioned yesterday, right now Ethereum is really in a deciding moment, because if you're zooming into the current Ethereum price action, you'll notice that yesterday's daily candle close actually closed back above the 120-day SMA, but clearly as of right now, the current daily candle is trading below the 120-day SMA, which by the way, that moving average is right now coming in at just above 3.8k. So technically we still need to see 1 or 2 daily candle closes below this moving average before we can really confirm the break of this moving average. And so basically, if somehow Ethereum can hold above 3.8k, then we could still be resembling the price action that we saw at the end of September, as we did bottom out during that correction at the exact 120-day SMA. But the moment we start confirming the break below the 120-day SMA, that continues to put us in a very similar situation like what we saw during June. And so looking in that previous price action, what happened next for Ethereum? Well, basically we experienced one more leg to the downside before we ran into the bottom for this correction. And by the way, we bottomed out on that leg to the downside at around the bottom of the original wick to the downside on that first flash crash. So once again, the recent flash crash that we saw around 1.5 weeks ago came down towards around $3,500 and on some exchanges down towards around 3.3k, which is exactly where we have been discussing in this volume cluster. And then obviously looking back in June and July, that made for an amazing buying opportunity to hold for the longer term. Of course, that's not financial advice. That's just telling you what my Ethereum strategy is and what my Ethereum strategy was back then. Because of course, if you're on the channel during June and July, I was constantly telling you almost every single day that I was accumulating a lot of Ethereum. And right now I am accumulating Ethereum just by dollar cost averaging into Ethereum. Because believe it or not, the longer term trend is still bullish. We are still making macro higher highs and macro higher lows. In terms of the bearish trend, technically it's only a short-term bearish trend. If you're looking on the smaller timeframes, or if you're zooming right into the charts, you can see that we're clearly in a short-term downtrend. But once again, all you have to do is zoom out and realize that we're in a longer-term uptrend. And so that's exactly why I am currently dollar cost averaging into Ethereum with a longer-term mindset. And when you're talking about the shorter-term price action, there's really only this one pattern, the falling wedge pattern on the 12-hour time frame for Ethereum, that is still giving a bit of hope for the Ethereum bulls. But realistically speaking, when you're looking at the whole market right now, when you're talking about the shorter term, we simply have a few more bearish signs on the charts than we do bullish signs right now. But the more bearish we're looking right now, the more bullish I am leading into 2022. Because normally anytime we experience a major market movement, we usually see a somewhat similar market movement in the opposite direction, not too far away. For example, back in April leading into May this year, we had a major move to the upside followed by a major move to the downside. And that major move to the downside during May, June, and July was followed by another major move back to the upside. And right now we're simply seeing a move to the downside in the shorter term, and eventually that will be followed by another move to the upside. It is only a matter of time. And so that is just another reason why I am slowly dollar cost averaging into Ethereum right now and holding for the longer term, as in for at least the next few months. And taking a really quick look at Ethereum against Bitcoin right now on the daily time frame, we are still pulling back against Bitcoin, and the important level that we need to hold above in order to keep this pattern valid is coming in at around 0.076 Bitcoin per Ethereum. But obviously, if you've been watching my Ethereum update videos over the past few weeks, we've been expecting price action very similar to this price action that is right now playing out. So none of this price action for Ethereum against Bitcoin should really be much of a surprise for the subscribers out there. And for extra free crypto content and real-time updates on the crypto markets, make sure you follow me over on my Twitter. And the link to my Twitter account is in the description down below and also in the pinned comment. If you enjoyed this video or got something valuable out of it, please make sure to leave a like down below. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe with notifications turned on for more updates just like this every single day. Before you click off, make sure you're checking out one of these uploads if you haven't already, because these videos can potentially help you make a lot more money in the crypto markets. But that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.